It's Mr. Burley at your Catholic District School Board. What I'm going to do is show you today how to use the web-based version of AutoCAD. So if you weren't able to download the installed version, then we'll go ahead and use the web version. So you just type in web AutoCAD and online, there you are. Now, mine jumped in automatically. I've already signed in. You would have to sign in. And so in this is where you can upload stuff into this directory. You can create new folders. Say you're designing a house, I can create a new folder, house, floor layouts, new drawings, whatever the case may be. And so this is the overall version, the overall area. Now, okay, I want to see if I can get rid of those little, I don't like that red circle around my thing. So we're going to call this, you name it, Ortho Tutorial 1, maybe. I'm going to select metric units. We can select metric or imperial. I'm going to select metric and click open. And it'll load the file up for us. Now, so if you look here, I can open and close that to give me more space to draw in. If I zoom out, I can see here's my X, Y, and Z axis. There's my X axis running this way, my Y axis running this way, and the Z, of course, is running towards me. So views, this is the model view right now that we're in. This is your black background for modeling, for drawing in. This is your layout. If you wanted to print something, you would put it on the layout this way, and you could select your paper size down here, 8.5 by 11, portrait, landscape, and all the rest of it. So then you got into properties. Properties, let's go back into the model mode. Properties is if you draw something and say you're on one of the layers and you drew something and you drew it all in the wrong format. I don't know, dotted lines or say the color was, you wanted to change the color, you could, or the line type or the thickness. You could come in here, you wouldn't have to redraw everything. You could come in here and change it. So you could select the layer and say, okay, select this layer and I want to change it all to this style. So that's where all that would take place. You can play with that a bit. Layers, I use layers quite often. Layers are really nice. Layers is like taking a bunch of clear pieces of plastic, laying them all on top of each other, and then you're drawing on different layers. The nice thing is you can turn layers off and on. You can pull a layer out. You can say if you had a dimension layer, you could turn the layer on and off, so it makes the drawing look much nicer and much easier to work with. Say you were doing an architectural drawing and you were doing a house. You would have everything in a different layer. So you'd have plumbing on one layer, you'd have walls on another layer, maybe the glazing or windows on another layer, and so on, electricity on another layer. And that way you can toggle the layers off and on. You can change colors and makes your drawing simpler. So in here, I'm going to call the first one object. And I've always drawn in green from my previous days. And another one I'm going to call dimensions. And I'm going to do dimensions as in blue. Now, what you do now is whatever you select, when you see this is highlighted, or in AutoCAD web version, or sorry, online version, or the real version, it'll say make current. This one, you just highlight it. So now I'm drawing in green on that particular layer. If I select it here, I'm now drawing in blue on that particular layer. So let's go back to green. And blocks, we'll come down to blocks. Blocks is something, so you basically draw something, you don't have to keep drawing it over and over again. You can create a block. Say you can bring in a fridge, or say a gear or a chair. Say you drew a table and chairs. You could, every time you drew a new house, you could bring the same table and chairs in. You wouldn't need to redraw it. Not going to worry about this one down here. I'm not going to draw any blocks at the moment. We'll just switch back to layers. And I'm going to come down. Here's some tools here. So these different tools, this is hatching. This is cross-hatching. So if you looked in, it puts little lines. So say, for argument's sake, you wanted walls all over, and then you want to put hatches in the walls. You could click this, and it would create little cross-hatch all over the walls, which looks pretty cool. That's what we normally do in that. This is drawing a rectangle, so you just click here, and you can see the rectangle automatically locks, and you can tell it, okay, I want it to be 55, tab by 55, enter, and now I have a, zoom in, now I've got a block 55 by 55 square. Okay, so 55 millimeters. These are circles, so I can come in here and I can draw a circle. And you can see as I go out bigger, I can just click anywhere I want. Or if I wanted to tell it an exact size, say I wanted 10 millimeters, bang, there I have a 10 millimeter circle. This is arcs, so I could draw an arc. Say I wanted to draw an arc from here around to here, I could click on this guy here. This is a 3-point arc, you can see. So it clicks here, and then maybe here, and then bring it out this way, and you can see, that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to do it like that. But you can see how the arc works. That's how arcs work. And then I could come back in here and trim this off so that I had that nice little bubble on the end of it if I wanted to afterwards. Spline, that's just if you draw lines, there's flexible lines all over the place. That's a spline. This one here, that's just straight lines. So say I wanted to just do a real quick straight line, and I wanted it here. And you can tell any angle right there. So say I wanted it right, I don't know, maybe a line right through there. Bang. So that's just your quick straight line tool. You can play around with these and kind of get the hang of how they work. They work slightly different than the installed version. So the problem is going back and forth between the two is I keep trying to do things the way the installed version is, and then I got to realize, oh, I'm the web version. Line tool is what we'll use most often, and the line tool is just that. You just draw straight lines. And the nice thing about it, so I anchored that one, and you can see the 60 or the 59, that's the length. So I could say, I type in 55, tab, and then it says, okay, you want a 55 millimeter long line. Now, that's great. What angle do you want it on? So you can see this would be 0, and then up here would be 90, and then over here would be 180, and then coming back, if I went back around this way, it'd be 90 again. So it assumes 90 and 90. So I want to go 90 up. And so if I went 90 this way, it would slam down, but I want to go 90 up. So I go 90, enter, and now it's 90 degrees. Now I could get off the top, I could hook onto the end of that. Now, oh snap, we're going to go over what these are now. Down in the bottom left-hand corner, oh snap. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to go back here, sorry. Annotate. So we got drawing. I showed you the drawing tools. Annotate is measuring something. This is to dimension something. This is to add a note or text. And this is you put a leader. Remember, we talked about it in class. You can put a leader for datum points and so on. Now I'll come back over here. Oh, snap. This is your snap. So if it's clicked off and I go to draw a line, so I'm going to go back into the drawing tools and I click the line, it doesn't anchor to anything. And the problem with that is if I draw the line now and I zoom out, sometimes you don't realize there's a gap there. Well, I want to be accurate, so I want to delete that line. So to delete something, you just highlight it, and I'll draw it again one time. I just escape, delete, or highlight and delete it. That's how you do it. If I click O snap back on now, it'll anchor itself to that line. Now, there are various tools within the O snap here. You can get it to snap to a midpoint, an endpoint, an intersection, center of something, a tangent beside something, perpendicular. So there's all sorts of different things here. You can tinker around and play with that and find out what works best for you. Now, when would you want to turn it off? Well, say I'm coming down here and I want to draw a line somewhere down here, and you see a midpoint. It's not clicking on the midpoint. Why is it not? Well, click on midpoint. Now I can come down here, walk down, and it says, okay, that's the midpoint. It wants to draw a line from the midpoint. Or controversial, on the opposite hand, I couldn't say that word, so I'll start over again. Say I wanted to come here. Now I'm not clicking anything. I'm just highlighting the end and walking down. So it knows that you want to draw something along that line. If I was to click there, it would automatically start drawing a line from there, but I don't want to. I want to draw a line out here somewhere, this direction. So click the line tool, click there, start walking down, and you'll see it jumps to the midpoint. Well, I don't want it to jump to the midpoint. I want it to draw somewhere here. So that might be the case that you got to come back in here, take your midpoint off, then come back in, and then draw your line down, and it won't jump to your midpoint. So that's the times when you need to turn midpoints off and on. The only other two ones that we'll talk about is ortho. Ortho is if you want to draw 90-degree lines. So I go like this, 90, 90, 90, 90, 90, right? That's drawing 90-degree lines. And polar means you're going to draw lines at angles. So it works similar. There's a line at 90, and you can see you can do any angle you want there. And you can select the different angles, 90 degrees, 45 degrees, and so on. So those are the tools. That's how we get started. In the next video, I'll show you how to start we got zoom extents here. Zooming in and out, I should mention, sorry. First of all, if I hold the middle mouse button down, I can pan around. I can zoom in and out using the middle mouse button, like so. And these here, this is zoom extents. So if I'm, say it's way out like that, rather than going all the way in with the mouse, I could just hit zoom extents and it'll bring it into the full size. This one here, I can zoom in, telling it which corner. So say I wanted to zoom in. I'm going to look at that side, that right there. So you click on this guy, zoom in, and it'll pull it into that corner. So those are the zooms. And of course, we've got undo. If you're working, say you started drawing something, and you thought, okay, well, now I'm going to switch to the desktop mode. You can click here, and it'll take it in. It'll bring this file into the desktop mode. So there are more tools you can play around with, but that's essentially what you need to do to get started. Down the road, we'll talk about typing shortcuts and so on. But for right now, that'll get us started. Okay, thanks for watching.